Naomi, welcome to the Scenic Route podcast. How are you?
I'm really good. How are you?
I'm good. I'm kind of like embarrassed that we were talking to a hospitality expert today, and the space I provided before this podcast was subliminal. Was really not worth to mention when it comes to hospitality, because I had to take a personal, like, an emergency call and completely let Naomi in the dark. So
That's
yeah.
fine. I'm actually
What
notorious for running 10 minutes late myself, so I wouldn't really worry about that. Fashionably late, we call it.
But yeah, we hold ourselves with grace here on the Scenic Route podcast because life happens. We're all human, and sometimes, despite your best intentions, shit hits the fan. So
Absolutely.
I'm really excited to talk to you about hospitality and what we, when you're listening in and you're a service provider, what we can learn from brick and mortar businesses when it comes to, and especially from the food industry, when it comes to what can we make to make people feel welcome in our space, and how this is truly universal, right? If you're not running your own business, there is a chance you still host Christmas dinners, or you host meetings at work, or whatever school functions you host. So I think it's a truly great skill to be a host, and to facilitate a space where everyone feels welcome. So I'm excited to talk about this today.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Okay. How do you, and when you think of hosting, what are the key elements that do you feel makes a guest feel truly welcome in your space when they first come in?
Well, when I'm hosting, I think it actually starts before then, really,
Mm.
because it's from that first moment of whether you hosting your own event or whether someone's going to book with you if you've got a business, or someone's even just coming to you because they're coming on your masterclass. It's that very first touch point they have into you, because
Yeah.
the key to anything is communication. It's
Mm.
having that two-way communications with those people that are coming, which makes all the difference, because that experience starts at that moment. So it's not when they walk through your doors or come into your house or come online to watch you on Zoom.
Mm.
It's before then. It's well before then, because
Mm-hmm.
whatever you're doing in the run up to that, they will make a judgment before they even get to you. So it's a really important
Yeah.
thing to think about all of
Yes.
that communication process and how you nurture people. And I particularly find, and I'll give an example, I'm actually organising my mum's 80th birthday party, which is in September, which I started organising in January, which is a
Wow.
bit like, yeah, it's an event, and
Yeah.
it's about the communication. So I'm trying to, it's not going to be a huge party. There's about 40 people coming, but there's 40 people coming from Ireland, coming from South, and I'm living in North Yorkshire. So they're coming from all over. But I've already started with the W's, if you like. So what they're going to find, why they should be coming, what they're going to eat, where they're going to go, all of those little details. And it's
Yeah.
those bits that people want to know. It's the details. And you also, I think, particularly when you're hosting, people will forget until the moment they need to do stuff. So you need to tell them lots of times of what's going to happen, because you know it off the top of your head. But
Yeah. And we probably
you're
feel one email is enough, and it isn't, right?
no. And
Yeah.
even though that event might be the most important thing going on in my life, so I will know everything that, like, if in the cafe, in the bar and bakery, I would know everything about the customer before they would come in that they would need. But the customer won't think about that until the moment they're probably about to leave, as to all of those
Hmm.
questions they should have told you or asked you about. So your event is not necessarily their most important thing in their life that day. I think
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
just
key thing
probably a
to
blip,
remember.
it's a little blip on a radar, and they're not. Yeah, yeah, which makes
Yeah,
sense. And at the same time, there sometimes we feel this resistance of, oh, should I mention this one more time, or will I like go on people's nerves and be like, oh, why should like, and it no, really just keep. I
no.
mean, in a friendly tone and voice, right? Just mention it
Yeah,
again and maybe add a
absolutely.
bit of more information to it, or
Yes, and absolutely. And I certainly found that automation was the way forward. So having automated systems in place that sent out reminders was really helpful. That
Yeah.
just, I find it helpful from my own personal experience, because when you've got busy lives and stuff going on, you're
We're all
like,
busy, life happens, you've got a million
yeah,
things to do. Yeah. But it's
yeah,
such a good point. Yeah. Sorry, good.
yeah, I was just going to say, but I mean, even like having you remember something's happening on any given day, but
Yeah.
that reminder 10 minutes beforehand can go, oh yeah, I forgot about that. I was like, how could I forget about that? It was only like 3 hours ago that I looked at my diary.
Oh,
But
yeah.
so if you
That
think about it from your
happens.
own, it does happen. But you think about it from your own experience. It's the same when you're dealing with any event that you're organizing, that person is probably experiencing the same thing, and they're trying to figure out where they need to go, how to get there, and all of those details,
Yeah.
probably running a few minutes late. And the more you can do to make their life easier beforehand and communicate with them, that will
Yeah.
be it'll make the event and whatever's going on so much better. They'll already be loving it before they've got there. Their expectations will be like, they'll be really happy to have had all
Yeah.
of that communication. You
Yeah.
see, like you say, we feel
Expectation
like,
management, really, of people given,
yeah.
this is what's going to happen.
And that you don't want to, by sending one email, it probably isn't enough. People want to feel excited about what they're going to come and see and do.
Yeah.
So you want to build that excitement. So actually, you're doing them a disservice by only sending them one email. You're better off to send them several so that they can get like really excited, hyped up. They can be ready for whatever you're doing. So,
Yes,
a
that's a
little
good
bit of
way.
sneak preview. Yeah. So you've got to think about it in the other way. And that's always the ethos I had at the cafe, bar and bakery, was that I want people to come and enjoy the experience they're having there. It was about being personable, it's about being friendly, and I wanted them to get to know us as a business, as a community,
Yeah.
as people. And I wanted them to come and feel like they've had like almost like a giant hug, had a really great experience, and they go away happy. That was the aim.
Yeah.
That's all I was there to do.
Yeah.
But that starts the minute they first see me somewhere. And that's got to consistently go all the way through. And I think we sometimes forget that the communications part is often the most important part of it, rather than the actual event itself. The event itself is, even though that's important, it's all of the other stuff in between
The
that make
anticipation
it.
before the event.
Yeah, absolutely.
I think that's such a beautiful reminder that we got to think about the way before, which also is tricky, right? I mean, you said it yourself. They know, it starts from wherever they met you, and could be from uh I don't know, an ad in a newspaper, to your social media, to the word of mouth from someone. Like there's no way how you can control it. And then
No.
kind of like keeping it up, keeping a united vision of what you want to put out into the world, to then actually the event itself. And it just reminded me, we booked a hotel, I think it was 2 summers ago, in northern Italy. And that was the best like anticipation period I ever had before checking into a hotel. It was like, it was so great. They sent me, I think, 4 or 5 emails, and every email was different. One was about like activities, one was about food with pictures and stuff. One was about, hey, this is our amazing spa. Please book ahead if you want to make sure I don't know, we can cater to what you want. And then one was actually a questionnaire with how would you like, I don't know, what would you like to do during your stay? If you want to do kids activities, then you could say kids activities, and then they would like, I did actually the form like a couple of times because I wanted to know what's going to happen. And they even went as nitty gritty as to, please let us know your size so we can provide the right bathrobes in your room.
Wow.
And
But
I was like,
that's amazing, isn't it?
I was like, I felt so welcomed and so seen. And I mean, and especially bad bathrobe sizes are like, sometimes they're just like, yeah, there's no way I cover my ass with that. But it's like, thank you. Just so, I mean, seemingly small things. And it was so easy for them I mean, yes, they had to put in effort to set up that funnel, that email sequence one time, and then you just run it through. And so easy to kind of like feel inclusive of people. It made
Yeah.
such a
And
difference. I went there, like the whole drive there, the whole 4 hour drive. I was like, oh, I'm so excited to get to this hotel.
but it just goes to show actually how much difference that made. But the
Mhm.
other side of it, from an operations point of view, from a business point of view,
Mhm.
by setting up that one sequence that built that anticipation, you are saving yourself a lot of inbound questions coming back into you with people not sure what to do. And
Mm.
also, people will probably spend more money with you. So,
Oh, for sure. We
because
spend more money there than just like the what we paid
because
per night per room.
yeah, but because you were given all of that in advance, and it like we say, it takes a little bit of time to set up these sequences, but once they're set up, that's it, they run, and you
Mhm.
don't have to do any more. It's brilliant.
Mhm.
So again, you're managing your customers without having to do any additional work, and you're not having to manage every single customer individually in that same way because you've got that set up. And some people
Mhm.
you will do. I mean, as a business, you do have to then have individual conversations with someone, particularly in food and hospitality, when there comes down to dietary requirements or
Yeah.
special access needs and all of these things that you do have to think about. But you're taking a lot of the legwork out of getting all of that information, taking
Yeah.
away staff admin time that can
Yes.
focus on other things that are
Yeah.
more important.
Yeah, but it's so true, right? And even it also translates to like non-business hosted events. I mean, I'm planning my 30th birthday party in June, and
Mhm.
we go like in the afternoon we go bowling, like all the friends with their kids, an afternoon, and then dinner is just like ladies only, no kids, just but I made sure to include in the, oh, are you attending? Are you attending in the afternoon? Blah, blah, blah. And also like please list your dietary requirements or desires. And I mean, I know I have the awareness because I have celiacs. So yeah, all your lovely loaves and breads and pies. I'm like, yeah, not gonna happen. But it's such a small thing to do to check. And it gets forgotten so often. I mean, I know this from my personal experience, the countless of birthday parties I've been within like immediate family where they're like, oh, we don't have any food for you. And it's just, it makes you feel so not included. It makes you just feel like you're not wanted. And
Yeah,
there could be so
absolutely.
easy ways to prevent this. So yeah, thinking to be more inclusive.
Definitely. And I certainly found, and it was a big learning curve for me because when I first opened the cafe and
Mm.
bar, we weren't going to be vegan or anything like that. We were going to have a couple of options, but we realized very, very quickly that there were more people that had dietary requirements than we realized when we first
Mm.
anticipated. So we adjusted, we made a change, and we worked hard to get some really great recipes so we could make gluten-free bread, so we could actually make really good all the bread was vegan anyway, but we also had gluten-free and vegan bread because some people can't have either gluten or dairy.
Yes.
And so we made sure we had cakes that were also that. And like even with our breakfasts, we had our sausages were gluten-free, so we knew that people could also, who had gluten intolerances, could had that. And it didn't actually make any difference much in terms of cost because I work with local suppliers, but it makes all of the difference to the customer. I always use these examples. So I had a bar and I don't drink alcohol at all. I haven't drunk for years, but I love cocktails. And what always used to really annoy me was when I would go out in the evening to a bar or something,
Mhm.
I would get a drink in a different shaped glass because I didn't drink. And I'm like,
Oh,
why?
yeah. Yes. Oh, I know. Yeah.
But you can
I
make
know
some
what you're talking about.
amazing,
Like a kid, I always
yeah,
had like a weird
the
Coke
kids
kitty
glass.
shaped glass. And
Yeah,
I'm like,
you're
what?
yeah, and I mean, I tell people I don't drink. I haven't. I'm not ashamed of it or anything like that, and I have no problem with not drinking. It was just the way. It was just like you don't need to give me an inferior drink just because I'm not drinking. And you can make some amazing cocktails without alcohol. There's some incredible ones out there. I've had some incredible ones,
Yes.
and it was. and it's been a rising trend in not drinking. And that was one of the things on, like, when we opened the cocktail bar, again, it was like, I don't want people to feel excluded because they can't have something.
Yeah.
And that's exactly,
I make the
it's part of
experience
that
as
journey.
nice or like same or better when
Yeah,
they
absolutely.
choose or can't have alcohol or gluten or whatever it is.
And it's again, it's a bit of a myth that the food is inferior because it's missing something. Actually, it's not true. I've just almost finished the series of Great British Menu here on the UK, and one of the chefs that got through to the final without giving anything away was actually a vegan chef. He did the whole menu vegan, and I've eaten
Wow.
some fabulous,
Oh
or
God, yes.
plant-based, shall I say, because that's actually the technical term they call it now. But I've had some fabulous vegan food, and actually I've often, if I've gone out for a special dinner or it's been a set menu, I often ask for vegan because I want to see what they've got. So I've had some really, and I'm a vegetarian, so I've had some really dodgy vegetarian food where, like, my biggest irk is living in North Yorkshire. We've been sampling all the Sunday roasts in
Yeah.
the north of Yorkshire
Yeah.
because we are known for our Yorkshire puds up here. And I have literally, when it comes to vegetarian Sunday roast, there has been a right old mega mix. Some of them are fabulous. Some of them are like
Yeah.
really great. You have Wellingtons and all sorts.
Lovely.
One of the weirdest ones was, it was called a halloumi roast. I was like, okay, that halloumi and gravy, that sounds a bit odd, but it could be a northern thing. I thought, oh, I wonder what a halloumi roast is. It was literally slabs of halloumi. It was the weirdest thing. So I had a
Oh,
full roast dinner just with slabs of halloumi on the side and no meat. I'm like,
yeah. That's it.
this was
Yeah.
that's just lazy for me. That's just like, put
Yeah,
some
it's
effort
just
into it.
yeah, there's just yeah, it's lazy and just like why like I'm always asking why even then offer it at all? You know? I
Exactly.
mean, that's the thing. I mean, I don't care if you're upfront and say, you know, we're like meat only. Deal with it. I'm like, cool. I can
Yeah.
decide whether to go there or not. Fine. Right? But if you're like, oh yes, we also do like, I don't know, vegan and gluten free and blah blah blah. And then you go there and you're like, why even bother? Like just
Yeah.
don't do it. If you hate doing that, just don't do it.
Yeah, absolutely. And there are some restaurants that absolutely say we are this, we cannot accommodate that because we are not set up to do that. I'm like, good. I know that. I'm not going
Yeah.
to be your customer. I'm not the right person for you. There's plenty of other places that I can go,
Yeah.
and I'm fine with that. But yeah, somehow people are feeling the need that they need to serve it. If you're going to serve it, do it right, is my view. If you're going to serve
Yeah.
it, make an effort to do it because you'll get known for doing something really well. And there's a lot
Yeah.
more
Really just
people that
be
want that.
and I think it's an important lesson, right? We're just if you do whatever you do, whatever you serve with everyone in the house, just do it with the full heart or just don't. If you
Yeah.
just feel like you should include whatever in your Christmas dinner or in your service business or whatever, like, just don't.
Yeah. And
And
one of
make
the
it
things I
clear.
actually, yeah, make it clear. And with the people that have, like special dietary needs or whatever that might be, or even when it comes to access and stuff like that, particularly in the
Mm.
business, we had to make sure that we were able to make sure people were sitting and accommodated comfortably for whatever they
Yeah.
needed. Sometimes if you're not sure, just pick up the phone and have a conversation and go, right, this is what we got. We used to serve afternoon tea, so we used to do like the 3 tiers with the sandwiches, the
Oh,
scones, and all the cakes
lovely.
on top.
Yes, lovely.
And we used to make them fresh, so we needed to know people's orders in
Mhm.
advance or dietaries. And we'd tell people the menu because people want to know what they're going to get to eat. And I'd always say, do you have any dietary requirements or dislikes? Because there is nothing worse than if you don't like something, being served it. So I always wanted to know what people's dislikes are. And if we got someone come back and say, well, actually, I've got X, Y, and Z, sometimes we would actually just pick up the phone and go, this is what we're thinking. Would you be happy with this? Because then you've manage expectations, you've already had that conversation, and you showing that you care, that you want people to have a good experience rather
Mhm.
than a substandard one. And it's just those little touches, and sometimes having that conversation they can go, well, actually, no, that doesn't really work. And then you can actually have that open dialogue and say, right, if we did this then, and then they'll know that they're going to get something they're happy with.
Mm-hmm. I can already hear, like, I mean, I know that everyone listening is not in that category, but I know from this inclusive talk we're having, you and I are having, I know, like I had this in other situations in my work or in private life where it's like, oh, but it's so much effort, and then everyone comes and requests vegan, gluten free, blah blah blah, and we can't handle it, it's too much work, blah 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 blah, all these excuses. Like how from a business, from a like really like a cost and business perspective, isn't that just like a bowl of horse crap?
Yeah, I mean, you can. I mean, I have had people that have had come into my business before and have got a laminated card of all their allergens. And I'd have to say, I really do not feel comfortable serving you because my kitchen has, and I was as a legal requirement anyway, and as a conscientious business owner, we have all of those products that are allergens in our kitchen, and we have to tell our customers that, and we do tell our customers that, particularly people that have allergens. And often I hear now that people, particularly in some coffee shops, will ask whether you're having a specialty milk or something if you go to have coffee, whether it's a dietary or
Yeah.
a preference, because there is a lot of people that just choose preferences.
Mm-hmm.
But there are some people I would absolutely say, I do not feel comfortable serving you because I cannot guarantee your safety when you've got this many allergies and issues within my environment. And I'm not just talking one or two, I'm talking a good list of at least 10 to 12. And it was laminated, it was serious. I'm like, you could probably have a glass of water and I would feel safe. But it's on you if you eat anything. What I can tell you is what we've got. You can then make that decision on you.
We can tell you what the ingredients are, and
yeah. But if you're that sensitive to food, I cannot necessarily guarantee you're going to go away okay, because I know I've got those products. So I think there are some things, and I think that one of the most challenging allergens I had was citric acid, which is a really, really bespoke one. And it's not one of the listed ones that you legally need to know about. But citric acid is in everything. I mean, it's in anything that you can think of. It is in lots of things. And so I spent a lot of time with this one customer making sure that they were absolutely safe. And probably at the end of it, it wasn't worth the money doing it, but she was part of a bigger party. So it was a really difficult balance to actually kind of go, I don't feel that. But again, I had that phone call with her beforehand and just checked. But when she actually arrived, this is what we got on the menu. Are you happy with all of that? Because citric acid is used as a preservative. So it gets into so many dry and ingredients that need longevity. So there are those situations where you think it's really not worth it. But that customer might well, sometimes we hope they come back, sometimes we don't because they are tricky, but they'll probably tell their friends about that experience. So even though you might not see the return on investment at that point,
or even if they might not come back, their neighbors might come, or their work colleagues, or but I imagine this is a very tricky conversation to have, because you get very personal on, and especially if it's an illness that's preventing you, that like not just a dietary choice, but that's actually you need to because of your illness, or your body is not functioning right, or you get into hyperbolic shock or whatever. Like how do you approach tricky conversations like this? What is your mindset going in? How do you hold yourself during these conversations? Because I know I'm always kind of like, oh, I don't want to have this conversation because I anticipate it's gonna get really tricky.
Yeah, I mean, it's a bit like ripping off a band-aid. Sometimes you just got to make that call.
True.
I have had
grow a pair, do it.
Yeah, I mean, they're never easy, and I did get people that said that we'd served them food that was incorrect, and I had some really stringent processes that were in place. My staff were very well trained. We were all trained. We had awareness all over the kitchen. But when we did get people phone up and say, like, say someone who can't have gluten phone up and say, you gave my wife bread, or well, I don't think we did, because I know my staff well enough to know that they know it inside out. And we had at every touch point, we made sure that there were systems in place. We would still review and discuss it and take it as feedback that we could use. It's never nice to get those tricky situations. It never is. They always end up taking more mind space up than the other 100 things that had gone right that day. But we always sense checked ourselves. We always went back through the step by step. We talked about it as
did we miss
team.
something, or did we had a blind spot, or what? Just
And occasionally something would go out to the wrong table and was the wrong thing, and it would be a genuine human mistake, because we all make mistakes, and people would react very quickly to change that. And no one ever died from it or anything like that. There was never anything wrong, but mistakes do happen. So sometimes you just have to react to them quickly, and just deal with them and be perfectly human and honest, saying,
and humble,
we've
and
made
like
a mistake
this,
here.
exactly. But
Own it.
Own it, exactly. Own it, and just be like, this happened. We're not happy about it. It happened. Like, how can we course correct now that you still feel welcome here in our space?
Yeah, absolutely. We used to have one of the things we always did, and it wasn't just like a throwaway sort of thing, but when people came to pay, we'd always say, how was everything for you? Because our view was, we'd rather, if something wasn't quite right, you'd tell it to a face so we can do something about it, than go and write it on a forum somewhere or on a review site that then we can't mitigate at the time. So we were always very open with our customers. And we used to have it a few times where people would come to the till and you'd say, is everything okay? And it was a genuine question. It wasn't just like, some people stand there. Yeah, because I've been told to say it. And you get people come up and go, oh, shall I say something, or shall you? And they're like, okay, what's gone on? It wasn't what I ordered, but I ate it anyway. I'm like, why did you not say something? Clearly that was it's just things like that. We're like, tell us and then we can correct it. It's, clearly either we misunderstood or you said the wrong thing. It doesn't really matter who was in the wrong here, but we don't want you going away having forced out.
Do you feel they didn't want to like inconvenience you, or
they feel they just say, I mean, I've had it. I often say, like, when I go to restaurants, I will say if something's not quite right, because they might be getting it wrong for someone else as well. And I would rather know if I've made a mistake and I can correct it for the rest of the day or whatever, than find out several hours later that it wasn't what someone had expected or something wasn't quite right. These things happen. It's just part of the course of any human. But yeah, I mean, it was always finding out how people are, just checking in on them, making sure they're all okay. It's all of those sorts of things that really do make a difference, and they actually feel like they're cared for.
I'm curious. We said you already shared, like, one of the biggest things in making people feel welcome in your space is the whole management of the expectations beforehand, before they enter, before they come in. And the whole, and then open and honest communication about what's going on, what do you need, how can we provide what you need. Are there other effective communication techniques that you and your staff kind of use to make guests feel at ease and welcome when they're in your space?
I think when they're through the door, it's just being able to greet them, make sure they've got the table, checking on them. And even one of the things I say is just introduce yourself and your name. I mean, most in my cafe and bar and bakery, people knew all our names. And even we were dog friendly, so we knew all the dogs' names as well. But we also knew our customers' names as well. It was part of when you put a name to a face, and you start to build that rapport and that relationship, and people feel special knowing that they know your name. It's a really good way. But it would just keeping an eye. You've got always have it's some days it's really hard, particularly on like the really, really busy days when you're fully booked, have your eyes everywhere. But it's like take a scan of the room, see what's going on, checking in on those people, making sure they're okay. Because from a customer point of view, there's nothing worse than not being able to get the attention of the server or whoever's looking after you.
Yeah, you're like,
If you,
oh, help, excuse me.
yeah,
Like, yeah, I
and
don't want to
it's
be
not.
shouting.
And it's an ongoing, I always order water with my food. I always have a jug of tap water. But there's this notorious joke my husband and I have with each other that if I order it, it will never arrive. Wherever we go, it's like
It's jinxed.
I become silent when I'm asking for it. So then he will have to ask afterwards. And it's just this ongoing joke. So now I ask just to see. And it's kind of like it's amazing how many people then you have to ask 2 or 3 times for water. It's not a big thing, but it's just those simple little details. And it's those places that put water, ask you straight away, would you like water for the table?
Yeah.
It's almost like that automatic process. I think one of the other things that I've certainly noticed, and not that I go to McDonald's, say, I haven't been to McDonald's in years and years and years, but the one thing that they always said, and it's a really good strapline, was McDonald's is the biggest small business in the world because they created that prototype that they then franchised out. But all of those systems, including how to look after their customers, how to make sure that they got consistency with every single meal wherever it was in the world, was really key. And it's the same. We had the processes were exactly the same, so that people came in, they want the same coffee over and over again. They don't want anything different. They want to know what they're going to get. And it's that makes a difference as well, is that consistency, because that's how you get repeat customers. You wouldn't go back to like whatever your local coffee shop is week in, week out, if you didn't know you're going to get the same coffee every time. I mean, how frustrating is it when you get a different coffee every single time you'd go to someplace? So
God,
it's
yeah.
so that is really important to get. And yes, we made homemade cakes and homemade bread. There was never going to necessarily be one loaf that turned out, particularly with sourdough. The sourdough does what it wants to do. It was the flavor that was key in all of that, right? So we might have a different selection of cakes. We probably would have standard cakes. One of the biggest seller was still Victoria sponge. It was the
It's a
straight up.
classic. It's a classic.
Exactly. And
Yeah.
I think sometimes we can overthink and overcomplicate stuff. And I'm someone who will push the boundaries and do weird flavors. I was the one that used to kind of do that. But people just wanted to get what they like. They want to go into a coffee shop and know they're going to get what they like, or go and get a loaf
Yeah.
of bread and know it's going to be the same every time.
Do you
So
think it
when
has
you've got,
something to do with comfort? Like,
yeah,
and because
yeah,
it's everything, like
but
our entire world is so uncertain, especially the last couple of years, that this is just it's comfort to know
totally.
the Victoria sponge is going to taste like the Victoria sponge. Should, must, has to.
Yeah, absolutely. And when you get something you like, you don't want to change it. We're creatures of habit. We like routines. We like
Yeah.
familiarity. That's what we love. So make sure that all of these things that you're doing, people feel that kind of consistency running all the way through it, because it does make a big difference.
Yeah, this is so true, and sometimes hard to translate when you have different people working, or you have it's a stressful day or whatever. And but I mean, I just had the memory come to mind where I once had this, like, there was this new coffee place in town, and they had a fantastic flat white, and the next time I went in, it was just basically milk with, I don't know, it was coffee flavored milk. Like, it was just bad. And I'm like, oh no, I was so excited.
Yeah,
And like, I never went back. That one silly one time. And it just, yeah.
yeah. And but it's enough to put you off, though, isn't it?
Yeah,
If you're
it
not, you're
totally
like,
is. And I
do
felt
I
bad, but
risk it?
it just put me off of, like, no, I'm not, don't want to have like coffee flavored milk again.
No,
It's
no, I
ridiculous.
couldn't cover that.
But
Yeah,
and also maybe going back to the personalization, which, I mean, if which makes sense if you're a small, like if you're in a family event and then you greet people by name, and yeah, everyone's like, oh sure, that makes sense. And if you're in a small business, a small bakery, it's probably more effort. But even, I once hosted an online course, and at the beginning, I mean, I couldn't greet everyone, but I just noticed, oh, now, like, Anna is logging in, or like whoever is logging in. And I just named a couple of people to be like, this is the kind of atmosphere or vibe I want to have here. We're personal, we're just kind of like setting the bar of like, this is how I want it to be. Um, and it's just really crucial. And that's also a funny anecdote that comes to mind when I was teaching um online marketing. My first lesson would always also be like expectation management of what you're gonna go,
Mhm.
what you're gonna accept in this class, what is the bar, what we're gonna do and what we're not gonna do. And just kind of like have everyone on the same page. And it was more effort at the beginning and it was uncomfortable to kind of like draw the boundaries. But it probably saved me so much time down the road because people knew what's what's gonna fly and
Yeah.
what's just not gonna fly.
Yeah, absolutely. I think the boundaries are really important. And I think even with like the communications, and particularly I found that with customers,
Mm.
that I would, and also to an extent my staff, because I mean, I was an open door policy anyway, but I notoriously, Sundays I wouldn't always work on Sundays. And I'll get streams of messages sometimes from my staff about questions relating to stuff. And I'll be like, I'm going to tell you all now in my group, I'm not going to respond to anything on Sundays because it's my day off, and I'm not going to do that. So if you message me on a Sunday, you will not get a response. And it's the same with dealing with people, of managing their expectations of how you're going to get back to them and what they're going to expect from you, as well
Mm.
as what they're going to get out of it at the end. I think another thing about, like I was saying, about checking in on people, if you're hosting your own event or something like that, taking the time to actually speak to everyone that's come along individually, go and have a quick conversation, check in and see how they're doing, what's going on. It makes a big difference when you are the host of it, because you've taken that effort. They come to you and you've
Yeah.
taken the effort to go and actually have a few minutes with them and work the room as such. It goes a long way. And I often think, like, if I'm going to an event, having something to take away at the end of it, or something that, even if it's not a physical thing to take away, but feel like you're going home with something, is always a really nice touch, because then that keeps it in your mind as a really good event. It's kind of in your head or something like that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. It's always interesting how, yeah, there's this, and like sometimes you cannot control what will stick out to the customer as this one thing. So
No.
eh, you try to do everything and sometimes it works and sometimes it kind of doesn't work. And you just have to also probably be really quick on your feet to course correct and just be like, yes, okay, okay, this went wrong. Let's try something else. Let's kind of like double down or go with that.
Yeah,
Is
and I
no.
was going to say, I'm a classical musician as well. So my
Oh,
sideline is I play in orchestras, and I have done for years. But I'm on stage quite regularly. I go and perform quite regularly. There has not been one concert I've ever done where everything has gone smoothly. There is always something that will go wrong.
yes.
The key is just to keep on going, because you will know, but they out there won't know. I mean, I've had it where soloists, when I'm playing in orchestras and we've got a soloist playing at the front, who've lost their place, and we know they've lost their place.
Yeah.
You just have to keep on playing, just keep on swimming.
Yeah.
People, and it's how you respond to that. If you get into a panic and think, oh, something's gone wrong, something is going to go wrong. Every single time you do an event, something won't go the way you want it to go. It's just the nature of the beast.
Yeah.
It doesn't matter. It really doesn't. It's actually just being able to kind of think on your feet, pivot, get on with the next thing. That's the important bit.
How is there like a shift of mindset or how you approach these things from I mean if it's the first time this happens, of course, I mean, you don't know. It's probably, I don't know. And some points you get some sort of routine. I mean, when you've done a couple of events, like I done trade shows when I was back in corporate, and after a couple of them, I knew every goddamn time there's something going wrong. So it wasn't less. I already anticipated it. I planned for it. But how, especially, like, do you really just like generally, if you plan something, have an emergency protocol that you can rely back on, or
Yeah, I mean,
How do you hold yourself?
sometimes I know, like, for instance, as a baker, we never have just enough ingredients. We always have a bit extra because something will go wrong.
Oh, yeah.
Sometimes things just don't work right. Sometimes
Sourdough
it's just a
again.
matter sourdough. Yeah, I mean, we've come into a fridge which has failed overnight, and sourdough has to rest in the fridge. Our sourdough rested up to 72 hours in the fridge. It was reading 15. It should be 3 degrees. We nearly lost a whole batch of sourdough because the fridge failed. And again, I have processes in place to check fridges, so I knew it was wrong. I could open it and go, yeah, this is not cold. I mean, thankfully that we didn't lose all the sourdough actually didn't come out the shape we'd like, but it certainly was fine in terms of being able to sell it. But sometimes these things just happen. You have to learn how to think on your feet. Sometimes you have to learn how to be resourceful. If you're like, I've been in the middle of service and things have gone horribly wrong. Like I've had power go out in the middle of service, and it's like the worst nightmare, particularly when you're stacked and you've got the tickets on the board. Sometimes things just happen, or your staff comes in, they've cut themselves or something like that. You just have to think, right, what's the most important thing now, or what's gone wrong? If something does go wrong, sometimes you just have to tell people something's gone wrong. We're dealing with it.
Yeah.
Like, and I was doing a opera performance the other day actually, and as we got out on stage, waiting for then the conductor to come out before the cast came on stage to do their thing, one of the oboes, I don't know what quite gone wrong, but the oboist, her instrument wasn't working properly.
Oh.
Right. And she's very key. There is many solos in that piece that involve the oboe. So it's like, so someone just stood up and say, we're having an oboe issue. Can you just bear with us while we sort this out? Anyway, we managed to fix the oboe and carry on. But sometimes it is just kind of saying if there's something that's not going right, or in my world, when I get too busy with orders, tell the customer they got to wait.
Yeah.
Because
are we naturally, like, are some of us naturally born calm problem solvers, or is there a way we can learn to
I
be
think,
more quick on our feet, to be more calm during stressful
yeah.
situations?
I mean, I'm known for being, even though sometimes my husband will know when I'm panicking because he lives with me all the time, so he'll know when I'm in panic. But you know, we've had instances where the microwave caught fire in the kitchen, and we look quite. No one would have known behind the scenes that we opened it up and, oh, look, it's on fire.
It's
Quick,
fine.
we'll put
It's
it out.
fine.
We'll chuck it out the window. We'll carry on. I mean, sometimes that
It's
just
literally
happens.
keep calm and carry on.
Yeah, literally it is. And you know, it's still in service. Okay, right, okay, we've got a spare microwave, let's carry on again. So sometimes you are able just to deal with them. Sometimes being in those situations, it's a bit like practice. You just have to take a deep breath, have a step back, have a think for a minute,
Yeah.
and then work out a plan of. My cafe bar and bakery was named after my grandmother, Elsie May, because she always wanted her own tea room. But it was actually the reason I named it after her, because her ethos was, she was very positive, but she always looked for solutions rather than find the problem. So it was, you had to have that kind of mentality of, right, okay, there's going to be a choice here of what I do next. I just have
what
to
I'm gonna
decide
put
which
my
one.
energy, my focus on.
Yeah, moving forward, not worrying about what's just happened. Let's focus on what comes next, because you can't control what's just happened. It's happened. So you just have to keep, what's the solution? What are my options? How do I move forward from this? And there is always an option. It's just working out what the right one is for you. And I think that it takes practice. It's not easy to get that. It takes having gone through a few of them. And again, like I say, I've been performing on stage since I was about 6 years old. So you learn how to cope with the unexpected in public ways when you're doing that. But in some, it didn't just come naturally on the first attempt. It took time. And you just have to take each experience as a learning curve and what you can take on to the next one.
And probably really you gotta do it, right? You can't probably mentally strategize. Yes, you can have backup emergency plans and whatever to do if XYZ, but it's probably, you just really have to live through every single shit hits the fan moment and be like, what we're going to do now.
Yeah. Yeah, absolutely. And sometimes you have to ask for help. I mean, that's sometimes our biggest problem, is that we don't know how to ask for help. And I watch it so many times, particularly if you're hosting and you're watching someone in the kitchen, and I'm a guest, and I will naturally go and go,
Can I help
what
you?
do you need? Yeah, and I think it's sometimes even saying, not even how can I help you? It's like, what needs doing? It's giving them the right question, because
This
can
is
I
a
help
good
you?
way
Yes or
around.
no?
Yes.
Where it's a, what do you need doing? They have to give you an actual answer rather than a yes no. So it's an open question. So that would be sometimes. My staff would tell me off for doing it, because I was always like, no, I'm fine. You're not fine. What can I do?
What needs to be
Okay.
doing?
Yeah, what's going to get this out the door quicker? And sometimes you would need someone to basically kind of go, I'm here to help, let me do something. And then you suddenly, when you get someone helping you, everything comes a bit easier.
Was this a big learning journey for you to learning how to ask for help? Or was it?
Definitely. I mean, having come from a corporate, sort of more of a corporate background, and I used to manage sort of digital teams. So everybody had quite a specific role and job, and delegation took me a while to learn, because I've always been very independent. So as I grew as a manager, I learned, and again, this is probably a mindset thing as well. By delegating, people are learning skills and knowledge that will help them further their career, if that's what they want to do. Not rather than me doing it all the time. And I knew, when managing digital teams, there were jobs I couldn't do that they could. Like, I am not a web developer. I can read basic code, and I could write basic code, not to the level they could do it at.
Yeah.
So I don't need to know how to do their job for them to do a good job. I need to give them the direction and
the environment for them to do a
exactly.
good
I
job.
needed to make sure they had the right tools, the right motivation, they had the right information, so they can move forward and do their job. When I went to running my own business, of course, it was like I learned everything, because I was learning from the ground up. I had 17 staff. There were things that I had to delegate to them, because I could not do everything. And it took me a good year to really learn how to let go of stuff. And even stuff like I would go front of house, I would do the kitchen, but actually I had to kind of go, I'm the CEO of this business. It's my job to lead the ship. I can't do that if I'm serving coffee all day. And I don't need to be the one that trains all the staff in how to serve coffee. I need to make sure that my front of house manager has everything that they need to do it, because they're the ones going to be doing it day in and day out, and being in front of the customers all day. So why don't I give them the tools that they need to do it, so they can develop and learn new skills that will further them in their careers, just like I wanted to do.
Yeah.
And it's so frustrating as an employee, wanting to do more, wanting to learn more, has that ambition, that is not being able to do that because someone is blocking them from their perspective. And that's what you have to think about, is how did I feel when I was in that position? So I had to have a bit of a sit down and a chat to myself and go, hang on a minute, you're doing the wrong job here. You need to be
Course
back in the
correct.
CEO box. Yeah. And sometimes you'll be like, oh, I'm not doing it the way I'm doing it. Did it matter? No. Was it still the right result? Yes. So sometimes they might
It's just a different
use my
flavor
method.
of service, and it's fine. Customer
Exactly.
loved it. Everyone was fine. Like,
Yeah. And I don't know everything. And I didn't know going into open a cafe. I came from a corporate world. I had no idea. I had no Scooby-Doo of how I had to do to open a cafe. Or I never run a food service before, ever. I didn't know how to make scones. My customers called my scones rock cakes for a good few months, because my staff were better at me than making them. I learned how to make them because they helped me. They helped train me. I gave them what they needed to do and built it together. So it was
which is
a
ultimately your
real,
role as CEO, right? It's
yeah.
not maybe doing the scones, and at the same time, I remember from my corporate days when I was hired to do a specific job, and then they wouldn't actually let me do that. I'm like,
It's
why do you even
frustrating.
hire me in the first place? I mean,
Yeah,
you hired me for my expertise, and now you're like, no,
yeah,
better yourself. Well, there you go. I mean, sure,
yeah.
you did then.
And whenever I've employed people, even in like I've employed and managed a lot of people over the years, even in my own business, I wouldn't necessarily look to see whether they could do the actual job. I would look to see what their attitudes were, what they were
Yeah,
looking to do,
yeah,
whether they will be the right team fit, because you can teach the people the skills they need.
yeah,
And I find it so frustrating. And I found this a lot. The industry, in like recruiting people, generally changed, where we've now become feeling the need. We need to recruit people that can do the job standing on their head before they've even got in the door. But 15 years ago, you would recruit people that were 80% able to do the job, because the 20% is what would make them stay, because they would get to learn and grow and move on. Yet somehow we've come into this world where unless you're overly qualified, you won't get the job. And it's wrong. It just feels so inherently wrong, because
mm.
what are you giving back to the people that are working for you?
And it's
And
also
that's what,
creating dissatisfaction, right? You have no
yeah,
learning, you have no personal development, there's no perspective. You,
no.
yeah, that's
And it was one
insane.
of the,
Yeah.
and it's one of the big things whenever I was employing anyone was, in a cafe environment, there are people that will come just because they're earning the money, but they learn skills while they're there. They learn things that will help further them in their career. And I had people that went on to better jobs afterwards, that had gone on to do other things, but they used their skills and knowledge from what they learned with me in whatever they were doing going forward. And I was like, well, I want to employ someone that's going to get something from this job, rather than someone that is overly qualified that are going to be bored within 5 or 6 months, because there's
Yeah.
nowhere for them to grow. And I think
Yeah.
that is, it's the way it's changed. And that's even thinking now, like I work in my business on my own. I don't have any help at the moment. But when I start to get to a point where I'm employing people, that is their personal development of where do they want to go,
Yeah.
what do they want to do, is
And
going to
more of
be really
a
important.
value fit than a skill fit
Yeah,
necessarily. Because as you said,
yeah,
you can train skill to a certain degree, you can train skills.
yeah, absolutely. And it's also about understanding people's different personalities, the way they learn, and
Mm.
how they work, because everyone is different. And it's almost like I had people in my teams that would challenge me. And that was really important, because I don't want lots of mini me's in the team, because that's not great for the business. I wanted people that would also challenge me and ask those questions
Yeah.
to me that would push me as well. It was important to have all of those balance of personalities that would work together, but equally that would be able to bring different perspectives as well. I think that is so important.
Which is also sounds challenging. If I mean, you don't want to have old mini-me's in your team, but at the same time, the more
No,
diverse a team gets, naturally, the more you also have to invest in managing the team and just bringing it all
yeah,
together. What was your
yeah.
approach on bringing people together who have very different backgrounds and personalities and experiences?
For me, it was about people knowing each other and understanding each other. So in order to
Mm,
work together, they had to really understand how they could work together and what they needed. And sometimes it would be a matter of me explaining and maybe giving them the information. That would I have people that would stand up in front of an entire room full of people and ask a CEO a question. That's in my previous business, that they would have no problem in standing up in front of 200 people and asking the question that everyone wanted to know the answer to,
mm-hmm.
but didn't want to ask. And they would just ask it as blunt as it should be said. And I had people like that that was one of the people in my team. And then I had other people that were quite quiet and reserved and had a very different approach, maybe a bit more of a creative way sometimes. So it was a matter of kind of using the team and their strengths together. So getting them to understand and know each other,
Mm.
getting them to understand how they worked, how they learned, how they did different things, and bringing them on the journey with you. So it was about being, like we're talking about inclusion. I work collaboratively. I can't say that word,
No,
but
it was a terrible
I'm
word.
yeah, I'm not an autocratic leader. I'm not someone that will go, this is how it should be done and this is the way it should be done. I like to learn from other people as much as I want them to learn from me. So I bring the team together by getting them involved with different ideas. And you are going to have difference of opinion, absolutely. But I think it's having that open mind to accept that there are people that might do different things differently to you. And do they work sometimes? No. Do they work other times? Yes. And it's just being able to balance that.
Yeah.
And it can be tricky with the team, but I also, even before I would even employ someone, I would actually get them to trial with the business, come and meet some of the team. Because I wanted to get their opinions, because their opinions were just as important as mine. I wasn't going to be the one doing the doing. And we all know that sometimes when someone's in front of the big boss, not that I was a big boss in that sense, but they behave very differently from when they're actually around a team member.
Yes. Yeah.
And what I saw and what my staff saw, and my staff were very open with me as I was open with them, I would get like quite blunt and very honest feedback about people as to whether they thought they were a good fit
And
or not.
you took that into the hiring consideration.
Oh, completely. If they were like,
No.
they were no, and I'll be like, it's never gonna work. It will never work for the person that I'd be employing. It will never work for the team. So if they were categoric, I don't think so. And sometimes I would have people where I'm not sure, and they'll go, I really like them. I'm like, okay, well let's put them on probation.
Let's give it a try and see.
Yeah, they might have seen something that I didn't, and I have to be that open-minded about it. And sometimes I was right, sometimes I was wrong. And again, sometimes it is just about being able to take in different opinions. And as a leader, you have to gather the information and then make a choice as to what the right path is for you and your business.
Yeah, I think you have to be humble enough to, and as you've beautifully illustrated, to be humble enough to let in like other opinions than your own and other experiences, and then at the end of the day, you still have to make a decision, because that's what's asked of you as a leader, that feel right and for the bigger picture you want to achieve. So yeah, I loved how you said that you're working collaboratively with your team and putting them into decision. And that's exactly how I led teams in the past, of just really, we're on this together, we want to achieve this. And I'm not I don't know, I don't want to be the dictator behind the steering wheel, like we're doing this.
But I wanted people to enjoy their work as well. I didn't want it to just be, I'm going to another job. And the world of hospitality, particularly, people think it's an easy, I'll get a job as a waiter or a waitress, or I could do both. It is hard work.
I would never say this is an easy job. Oh God, no.
It is physically and mentally grueling. If you are not exhausted by the end of a Saturday, there is something wrong. I mean, some days I would be so tired, I would come home and just cry, because I was like, I need to let it out somewhere. But some Saturdays would get to the end of the shift, and particularly when I had the bar as well, I'd try and make sure that people couldn't do double shifts, because it was physically too exhausting for them. So sometimes when you got to the end of a Saturday night, you'll be cleaning up about 2:30 in the morning, and you're like, my feet are absolutely pounding. Yeah. So you've got to kind of find ways to keep people motivated and brought on with you and enjoy their jobs as well. And I think that's what's really important, is just to kind of have that radar of, how's this person doing? How are they finding it? What do they need? And even though you might kind of think, oh, I think they need that, if they tell you no, or they don't, and they're okay, you just have to go, okay, I'm seeing something else, but you're an adult and you can make that decision for yourself sometimes. So you have to just kind of trust people. And
absolutely. So we've talked a lot about how can we be a better host, how can we create better environments to make people feel welcome. So maybe to round this up, what can we do? We're not, every one of us is a host at some point, but absolutely 100% every one of us will be a guest one way or another at some point. What can we do to be a better guest?
Oh, that is actually a really good question. I think it's just showing, a lot of the time it's just showing appreciation and communicating back. Sometimes it's being able to give that honest feedback as well. I think as like I said, as a business owner, it's so frustrating when someone doesn't enjoy something and they go away and say something to someone else, and then you find out later. It's, again, I think it's just, as a good guest, it's just about showing up, being genuine about what you're doing. And one of my team would be so annoyed at anyone who was late as well. Anyone who was late, and I'm notorious for being late. If you're going to be late, call, just pick up the phone and give them a call. Let them know you're going to be late. I mean, we did five minutes or so. It's just one of those things. Some people were an hour late.
Okay. No. I mean, I'd say 5-10 minutes. I mean,
yeah,
happens to the best of us. An hour that's rude.
Yeah, it's rude. It would sometimes be that half the party would turn up the hour before as well, and you're like, I'm holding a table for you. And we would ask them to move, because it was just discourteous in a way. It wasn't really very fair on other patrons that were in the building. So I think it's just, again, turning up, being genuine, saying thank you afterwards. My mum always said, always say thank you, always send a little note to say thank you afterwards, even if it's just a quick text or a quick call the next day to say that you've been appreciated for the event. I think that also goes a long way. I would read the reviews, and I learned that I had to read the reviews not every day, because I get obsessed with them, but read them at times when I was thought, am I in a good space to be able to deal with whatever I'm about to read? Because sometimes you would get the negative ones and they would be a bit triggering. And I learned the hard way of how to deal with those. But actually, when you got a really good bit of feedback and it was just a really genuine, nice thank you, actually, even if they didn't write it on TripAdvisor, Google or Facebook or wherever they would stick it, if the ones that were always often nicer were the emails back that just came into you. It wasn't about, it was more just, it picked up the staff, it just highlighted what a good job they were doing and that they were doing well, and there was that added bit of encouragement. So I think being able to say thank you, what you've enjoyed, it goes a long way with a host. And as we all know, as we've all hosted, whatever it is you're hosting, even if it's just a takeaway with friends, there isn't some effort that goes into hosting that.
God, yes.
So
hosting is yes,
it can be very stressful. So I think it's just like a matter of being able to kind of say thank you, I appreciate what you've done, and
I see what you've done, thank you so much.
That's all people need sometimes. We used to have a really great scheme in a previous company where it was called the thank you scheme, and any member of staff could, and it had about 2,000 people in it, so it's quite a big company. But my team used to do this quite regularly. But if a member of staff in another area of the business or another team, or even in the same team, had done something that was like really noticeable, really worthwhile, they would get to send them a thank you voucher for something. So it could be like a £10 or £20 voucher. The amount was nominal, but it was almost
it's not really about the amount, right? It's not about the amount at all.
It wasn't about the money. No, it could be just be a little thank you email or thank you. But it was a real boost to say, look, you've done a really good job. You've gone out of your way to help us here, and we really appreciate you did that. So I think sometimes even just that kind of quick message.
That's something nice to implement, even in your family at home or something, like it could be really a nice way to implement that. And I feel, we're quick to complain when something's not great, and rightly so. We should say something if we're not happy with it, but we should equally express when we're really happy with a service or with something, and express
definitely. I absolutely agree. If you're really enjoying something, tell people. I mean, how much joy does that bring to everybody if you're actually telling people about that experience that is good, and telling the person that's created that experience for you. And
that's a beautiful reminder.
One of my mentors did a launch recently, and she actually puts post-it notes of everybody who's joining her course on her windows during that launch phase, because she's, and it's a big launch. She gets lots and lots of people taking part, so all of her windows are like covered in post-it notes. But she's like, these aren't just numbers to me, these are actual people.
Yeah.
And I really appreciate every single one joining me, and I want
Yeah.
to make sure I know who they are.
Mm-hmm.
So, it's in a way, it was just a really nice touch to kind of go, I appreciate you, so thank you for
Yeah.
being part of my world. So
Yeah, I do that with every ping that comes into my mailbox, whether it's a sale or it's a sign up to a newsletter. I'm like, oh, okay, thank you, and I see you, and I acknowledge it. Like I make a decide like an aligned decision to be in the moment and acknowledging that person, investing their resources to be in my space, just as a thank you, because people are doing that and it's amazing, and we it's always nice to show gratitude for that.
yeah. And then another thing from a guest perspective, which is less relevant in the cafe world, but certainly one for my having done a lot of parties over the years, is actually sometimes as a guest, it's just asking if someone needs help at the last minute, like just before the event,
Oh.
because that's when the crunch time happens. It's when, like, I used to be in events anyway, but like when I've organised weddings or christenings, I have a big family, so there are inevitably weddings and christenings at all turns. But it's usually the last 24 hours where the shit hits the fan and everything's kicking off. And you're like, is there anything you need from me? Because I've got some free time today. And some people are like, yes, please, I just need you to bag the sugared almonds. And it's like, I mean, who has sugared almonds at weddings anyway these days? But,
Yeah,
it's
there's
those
always
little,
what needs to be done.
yeah. And notoriously as hosts, and I am a victim of this myself, I am totally overambitious with my timing. So sometimes having that one person reach out to go, is there anything I can bring? Have you missed anything? Do you need me to get anything? It's like, yeah, can you just bring ice cream? You're like, oh, yes,
You're
I
my
can do that.
lifeline, thank you.
Yeah, exactly. I'm never going to get out because I'm making 10 pots of food and I need a dessert. I haven't got time.
Yeah.
So yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah, reach out before if you have the capacity to do so, and offer help.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Well, Naomi, thank you so much for letting us in and to how the world of hospitality and how you manage and your philosophy of leading with grace, and then being humble about yourself, and letting being able to teach and let others teach you. If people want to know more about you or work with you, how can people find you online, where you hang out?
I actually hang out in two places because I'm a bit of a guise of two places. So you can find me at I Am Baking Boss. So that's where all my foodie stuff happens. So if you're interested in recipes or anything like that, go follow me at I Am Baking Boss. If you're more interested in the business and leadership and strategy side of it, then come and follow me at I Am Naomi Rose. I'm on all the socials.
Yeah.
So come and check me out there.
We will surely link both in the show notes so you can decide which side of Naomi you want to go give a follow.
my two
or
brains.
both, who knows?
It's because I love spreadsheets and being creative, so I've got to have both.
Yeah, you do you. Absolutely. And I've always one last question before I let you go. What book are you currently reading, or what audiobook you're currently listening to?
Oh, do you know, I'm got a stack of books that I am almost reading, and I usually save my non-business ones for when I'm on holiday because that's when I like to react. But I'm currently actually in the middle of, for the second time, of Denise Duffield Thomas, a money mindset coach,
Oh,
her
yeah.
Get Rich, Lucky Bitch.
Yeah,
I've read
Get
it
Rich.
twice
Yeah,
now.
no, that one. Yeah.
Which is really fantastic. I'm actually listening to a couple of different podcasts at the moment as well, though. So my audio version of podcasts, because as you can guess, I love listening to podcasts, but I often listen to Denise actually on the podcast. Sometimes if you're in that kind of, I need 5 minutes of Denise just to talk to me about my money mindset, then I get into her.
She has a special vibe. Yeah.
She does have a special vibe, and I just love her kind of bite-sized top tips. And then the other one I listen to two, I suppose, is How to Fail podcast. That's really good.
Oh, yes,
So definitely go
yeah.
check that one out.
Yeah.
And on the health food, health living, live more, feel better. I can't remember how it's called, but Dr. Chatterjee. So live better, feel more, something like that. I can't remember the words in the right order. It's something like that. So they're all the words, not necessarily in the right order, but it's another great podcast. And I'm always really interested in like different areas of the human body and how mind relates to everything else and how everything. So that he has lots of really interesting, different, quite diverse range of guests, and they're long form podcasts. They're epic. I mean, they're good days. Some of them are up to 2 hours.
Wow.
But I love it. But I love that. It makes a change
if you
from
know
somebody.
you're having something to do for 2 hours, and then you can just like give it a go.
But you know, he will talk to like books that I wouldn't necessarily be able to read because I probably wouldn't get into them. But like Gabor Mate and stuff like that, he has conversations with them, so you can get a good feeling like you read his book from having listened to this podcast. So definitely go check out.
Oh yeah, we're gonna link all these mentioned resources in the podcast and the show notes. This is good. Yeah, this is also giving me. I know how to feel, and the one with Denise, but the other one sounds intriguing too. So I'm gonna give this
definitely
a check
go.
out.
It's really interesting. I've learned so much. Even like one of his really early episodes, he actually had a conversation with a sleep consultant that ended up, which was back in the 90s. So this sleep consultancy was not really a thing in the 90s, but he ended up actually going and being the kind of sleep consultant for the Tour de France for the England Team Sky in the Tour de France, which, having previously worked with some of the top rated football clubs on sleep, and that was pretty progressive back in the 90s, but I was just like, this is so fascinating, and you can relate so much of it to business. So it's definitely, it's not just about a health podcast in that sense.
You can always take something out of wherever you are in your journey.
It's a really, like I say, diverse guest, so you can really pick and choose. There's hundreds of episodes now, so definitely go have a listen.
Oh, that sounds amazing. Well, Naomi, thank you so much for joining me on the Scenic Route podcast. And we're all gonna go and binge 2 episodes now.
Yeah, absolutely. Oh, thank you very much for having me. It's been great. I really enjoyed chatting.